Hi, Tony. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on today. I was looking forward to this day because we're gonna talk about a lot of really interesting stuff. So thank you for coming on.
No, thanks for having me on. Yeah, there's a lot of BS to break down, right? Especially especially the New Age movement, and
Yeah.
yeah, we just live in a sea of bullshit, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And each day you pull back and you pull back more and more layers. So it's going to be really good to pull back all these layers and to see the deception for what it is. And
Yeah.
I'm like very excited for that. So before we dive in, because we're going to dive in really deep, but before we dive in, just give us like a little introduction of who you are, how you got to where you are today, and how you learned about the New Age deception.
Well, just in that question, all I saw in my mind's eye was a big, massive roller coaster. um, but yeah, I mean, I kind of describe myself as like a human road sweeper. Like I'm kind of like shit shifting. It's like I started this journey seems like an eternity ago with similar to a lot of people. I was stuck in like the grind, the 9 to 5, or at that point it was like 8 till 8.
Wait.
And the years were passing me by. I was stressed out. I was just like, from one day to the next, just chasing the pound sign in the UK. And I just literally, it was boredom. It was boredom. I was so like, oh my God, like I'm 30 at that point. I was 33, which is quite interesting. I thought, is this life? I mean, is this what it's going to be for the next 30, 40 years? I'm just going to be like grinding away, and it just all seemed pointless. And at that point, I remember it clearly, I just asked the question very clearly in my mind: what is my purpose? I have to have a higher purpose than this. What am I here for? Is there a God? Like, so for the first time in my life, I was asking really big questions. And what I've come to learn is that intention is such a powerful thing, even in thought form. And as soon as I had asked those questions, it was so weird, because in the following weeks to come, I would just stumble across videos and different sort of speakers, the likes of sort of David Icke and other people, that just suddenly blew my mind. I started to find out about 9/11 and other things. And it was so bizarre, because just everything around me just fell away. And then, of course, as we all do, we eventually come to the conclusion, they're trying to kill us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And at that point, I think, we all have a decision to make. And I remember clearly the insights that I was getting at the time. And it was like, people are not going to like you. You're going to lose a lot of people, and you might even have to lose your life at some point if you want to go down this road, if you want to take this red pill. And but I just knew I just couldn't. Like, I have a niece and nephew, and I could see clearly how the world was at that point. And so there, at that point, I just started speaking up and researching. But the other part of the intention that I had, when I realized that basically everything is bullshit, I had a very strong desire that I didn't want to just get to the outer layer of things. I wanted to get to the root cause, like, why is there so much evil? Right. And I think with a lot of quote unquote awakenings, you kind of fall into the first layer of realizing politicians are corrupt, and they're greedy and yada yada yada. Yeah. And then once you get past that, and I'm sure we're going to get into it, is that you kind of fall into this, what I now understand to be a whole platform which is set up, which I refer to as the next layer of the matrix, another strand in the web, which is the New Age pseudo-spiritual movement, where they throw a few nuggets of truth in to get hooked, And the key one being that we're more than just humans, which is a huge one, because that's quite an empowering one. But it's layer upon layer of very subtle deception designed to keep people passive, make people stand out, all this, just keep your vibes high, and we're going to ascend to 5D and all that kind of stuff. So I realized then, over time, but now more clearly, that was also just another strand in the web. And then I really just sort of fell into energy healing, and I had a big experience where, it's a really long story, so I'll make it short, but I was under sort of energetic attacks. I didn't quite understand what they were at the time. My energy was completely siphoned. I was getting severe anxiety, and it was after like a kind of a big event where I'd put out some content which triggered a lot of people. In the military, actually, and I actually received a lot of death threats at the time.
Oh wow.
And I didn't really understand at the time, but I knew it must have been linked. But it was psychic attacks, because when someone has a thought like "I hate you" or "I want you to die," that's an energetic attack that sticks on your energy field. So I didn't realize what was going on, but it led me down a path of trying to get rid of that, and which led me down a path of someone suggesting that maybe if I remove my chakras, which is now I understand to be an artificial implant, where entities lock into your energy field and drain your energy and loop negative thought forms, that may help. And at the time I was like, what are you talking about? The chakras, they're all in the New Age movement, and
they're so pretty, they're so colorful.
Yeah, they're so pretty, right? They make all the evil things the most beautiful.
Yeah.
And part of it resonated with me, because I just thought, yeah, do you know what? That's exactly what they would do. They would make the most evil thing look the most beautiful with lotus flowers. And the other part was out of desperation, because I'd tried everything to clear this energy.
Right.
And anyway, I went through this process. I had this done, and it was like night and day. Literally, this whole cloud had lifted, and it was amazing. It was so amazing, the difference that I felt. And I just knew at that point that I had to sort of, at least get people thinking that maybe some of these things in the New Age are actually not as great as what we've been told, and just getting people to question things like, the chakras and things like that. And we spoke about last week on the podcast, in terms of just because something is old or tradition, that somehow it's beneficial for us. Yeah. Well, as we said last week, humanity has been enslaved for thousands of years. So where are things like the chakras and meditation and chanting and gong baths and all this stuff? Where has it actually got us, right?
Yeah, and prayer and all that stuff. That's another one.
Yeah. I mean, prayer, for God's sake. I mean, how many years have we been praying for peace, right?
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is it?
Yeah. And also the positioning of prayer is like a slave position.
Yeah, absolutely. It's looking for a savior.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that the New Age movement cleverly ties into, because a lot of damaged people gravitate towards the New Age movement, and they want to look to angels or friendly aliens, or this, what I could refer to as this fake God, the false God, that people want to give their power away and pray to. And essentially what they're doing is giving their energy away. And these beings, just like our politicians masquerade in 3D, you have politicians that promise us the world and, tell us how much great change they're going to bring about.
Same thing every time.
And then what happens? It's worse. Well, the same thing's that same expression is going on in 4D with a lot of these entities, where they're masquerading of the light. They're telling people what they want to hear. They're even giving people true insights at times.
Right.
But they're always taking at the back end, whether that's your energy or getting you to promote another agenda. And so we really are living in a time where we have to put everything on the table, no no matter how gooey it makes us feel inside, because
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole draw of the New Age movement. It's like, oh, but it feels so good, you know, angels and all this. Yeah, but just because something feels good doesn't make it true. And actually what is true quite often makes us feel like crap, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's so true. It's so true.
so we're really living in the time whereby we need to put everything on the table, reevaluate it, and just have another look. And
Right.
really that's where my work's gone. I think I've just tagging on from what I found about the chakras, that then literally opened a lot of my other senses. I became more clairvisual. I was seeing other things, entities and stuff like that. And then I started removing all of that, and that led into artificial implants and AI implants and all this etheric interference and manipulations that we have going on in the unseen, which is designed to really box our consciousness and stop us from progressing and reaching our full potential individually and collectively. So, but it just really, the whole thing sort of led me down this path of, I don't know, finding out about some of these new age deceptions and then just realizing that it's all BS.
It all is, yeah. It's all a distraction from like our inner self and what we're supposed to look at, you know, and it really is just a one big massive deception that again, you have to peel back the layers to see it, and you have to be open to seeing it. You know, you have to be just conscious of where am I putting my energy, and you know, where is this going, and who am I paying, how many healers am I really paying thousands of dollars to get, you know, like sound baths and all this stuff, and then I actually don't heal. It's really just a Band-Aid that you're putting on the wound.
Yeah. Well, we spoke last week, didn't we? It's a case now in the New Age movement that the done thing is to, you know, you have your awakening and then you book a trip to Peru, you go down there, take some jungle juice, and then you're healed, right? You throw up a bit and then that's it, right? You're done, right? You're good to go.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you and I both know that, you know, going through that dark night of the soul, I mean, it's not an overnight thing, and nature doesn't work like that. I mean, it's like these people that think that they can abuse their body for years on end, drinking alcohol, taking drugs, and eating junk, and then just go to the doctor. They're going to give them a pill.
Solve all your problems. Yeah, it's true. And you know, I know we said this last week on your channel, that there's a difference between spiritual entertainment and actual healing. You know, and I didn't years ago, I didn't really know the difference because I was so stuck in the New Age stuff. When this year, this is funny, I haven't actually shared this story with anyone, but this year, as I was going through my dark night, I remember I was like in like the depths of the darkness, honestly. This was like my lowest point this year. And I was on Gaia because I was like, I need spirituality to make me feel better, right? Because I got so used to that. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm so depressed right now. I don't know what's going on. So I was like on Gaia, and I'm like, I just need to watch something. Maybe like it'll make me feel
crack.
Exactly. I need my spiritual crack. And as I was watching, I don't remember what it was. It was probably something about aliens or something. As I was watching it, I felt this rage in my body come up. And I'm like, why do I feel so angry? And it's almost like I felt like I hate spirituality. All of a sudden, I started hating spirituality. And I'm like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. Like, this isn't who I am. I've tied my identity so heavily to spirituality the past 7 years of my life. What's going on? Why is this happening? And then like, as the months went on, and now, of course, I'm looking back and I reflect and I'm like, oh, wow, I was just really peeling back the layers. And I was waking up to the fact that this is all one massive deception. And, you know, my soul was telling me, like, detach from that. You don't have to identify with that. That doesn't mean anything, you know, like identifying with that doesn't mean that you're more spiritual, you know, or doing certain things, being vegan and all that stuff doesn't mean you're spiritual. It has nothing to do with that. You're like, oh no, we hit like a sensitive spot.
That is the most sensitive spot. Yeah, we
could touch on that because that's a big one. That is a big one.
It's a huge one. It's a huge one. But before we get into that, whenever I hear vegan, that word, I just get really triggered these days. There's probably some kind of shadow work I need to do around that word, right? But
yeah,
I mean, you're absolutely right, and I describe this kind of new age spirituality as an addiction for a lot of people.
yeah,
And it's the same thing. People are using like drugs, alcohol, food to plaster over some kind of trauma.
yeah,
And they're doing the same thing with the new age movement. Because like you say, it makes you feel all gooey inside. And there's this deception that you're somehow healing yourself. You know, Archangel Michael is healing you, right? He's not. He's taking your energy. He's feeding on you. And it's. I mean, I work with so many clients that, like you say, they've spent thousands of dollars. They're no further forward. In fact, they're often worse. They've got all this false white light energy all over them, and you know, I have to unhook them from all that crap. But it's important to see it as that. And I think we spoke last time about, in my opinion, we need to redefine or even just change the word spirituality, because it is so corrupted on so many levels. And we need some kind of spirituality that's based in sovereignty. We spoke about integrity. Integrity is hugely. Integrity in the New Age movement is, I mean, it's.
Don't even get me started on that one.
Oh my God, I mean, we mentioned last week, didn't we, about I know quote unquote healers that, you know, they're taking cocaine and they're getting, like, you know, out of their head on a Friday night and then taking a yoga class on a Saturday and calling themselves spiritual. And it's just a mess. And like I say, you know, that not everyone's bad and not everything is bad. There is some very talented people who do have integrity. I'm not here to slag everyone off, but what I would say to people, what I'm encouraging people to do, is just to be very discerning. You know, that word is lost in general in humanity. We've completely lost the word discernment. We're so trusting.
Blinding,
But even more so in the New Age spiritual movement, where in my experience, a lot of people are sensitive, they're empathic, you know, they've had a lot of trauma, so they don't have very strong boundaries. They don't, you know, they've not really learned how to say no a lot of the time. And so they gravitate over there, and they just think that everyone that shows up, that says anything that feels kind of half good is going to be beneficial. But it's really not how it works. And people really need to feel into that person's energy, feel into the information that they're talking about. Not does it feel good, but does it feel true? And there's a big difference, because truth is a frequency, it has a resonance. Absolutely. And that's why we say when something resonates, because you know, it's you're feeling that truth within those words or information. So yeah, for sure. And the real danger at the moment, which we're seeing promoted so much, is this whole idea of ascension. And it really gets my goat. I was in a Zoom chat for people here in Player, and there's one lady in particular. She's completely New Age vegan, you know, all the bells and whistles. And she's like, well, you know, we don't really have to worry too much, because we're ascending, and you know, these people are. And I said, well, ascending where and what? Like,
where are we going?
Do you think you're not going to be like, you know, these tyrannical rules and regulations and enforced crap is not going to affect you and your. The worrying thing is she's got a child. And it's like, that's not really going to help your child. But she's convinced that, you know, just by singing Kumbaya under a tree and thinking happy thoughts, that she's in utopia. She's already there.
Like, are we taking the elevator to ascend, or are we taking the escalator? Which one?
Oh my God! On my YouTube channel, I review New Ages. I don't know if you've seen.
Yes, I have.
There's one particularly bad one called Jerry Sargent, and I mean, the guy, he looks like a cocaine dealer. I mean, and he sounds like it. But I mean, this is a lack of discernment going on. But he actually talks about this somehow, like some kind of rainbow bridge that people are going to go over, right? Into, and the comments, they're like, "Yeah, Jerry, that sounds great. I can't wait to go on the rainbow bridge." And I'm like, these people
Sounds like you took a lot of acid.
yeah, I mean,
That's what it sounds like.
what are you taking? But the real positive thing, what I found is that you know, a lot of people that have come over to my channel because they're linked with these people. First of all, they get a bit triggered, and then once the information's kind of settled with them, I get an email saying, "Oh, Tony, I just wanted to say thank you for opening my eyes. I now see everything, and you're right. It's I was incomplete. These people are under a spell.
Yeah,
that it is actually false white light energy.
absolutely.
That is actually a thing, and it kind of, when you speak to a lot of these people, they're almost in like a trance-like state.
Yeah.
I remember when I went to a town in the UK called Brighton, which is a very new agey town. And I spoke to a couple of Reiki healers.
Oh no.
and I remember distinctly, this is before I had the same level of awareness, but
right.
this is 2 or 3 years ago. But when I was looking at them and they were talking, it was like the lights were on, but no one was home, right? They were in some kind of different dimension, and it wasn't a good one.
You could tell, yeah.
Yeah, and it was just the way they were talking. These were guys as well, and like they was quite, it was very like feminine, and I'm like, geez, man, I wouldn't want these guys on my team if we're going to war, you know.
Yeah.
And it does it, the new age movement, veganism, it really feminizes men, it really does. And
which is part of the plan.
yeah, we've already got a big problem with the feminization of men through the food, through estrogen, and you know, the TV and all the indoctrination and propaganda and everything like that.
Porn and all that stuff, yeah.
But what we're seeing is men that particularly could embody that kind of warrior archetype when they wake up, they fall into all that new age claptrap, and then they become like they just become like a nobody, right? It's they're just floating along and not doing anything, and you know, just promoting this whole idea that you're not allowed to look at anything negative because you're going to quote unquote draw more of it in.
Yeah.
I mean, what a huge deception that one is, because like if you break your leg, you're not just going to leave it hanging, are you? You're going to go and get it sorted out, right? And the same thing applies, you know, where you just ignore tyranny, it's going to get worse. But these people actually believe that if you focus on something, it grows, when it's actually the opposite that's true.
Right.
I mean, there is something to say to being sort of stuck there and obsessing over something, but for sure, if something's wrong, you need to look at it and see what can be done about it. But yeah, there's so many subtle deceptions that can easily be missed. Another one, you know, never get angry. You know, you're not allowed to get angry.
That's a big one. Yeah.
It's
so narcissistic when you think about it. You know, it's insanely narcissistic because it keeps you quiet, it keeps you obedient. You know, they tell you don't do anything, don't say anything, don't be negative, don't get angry. Of course not, because if we get angry, what happens?
Yeah.
You know, we take action because anger leads to action. It's
absolutely
a motivator.
Righteous anger. I mean, things like ignore the negative and never get angry. Who does that benefit? Well, that benefits governments. You know, the shadow government. These quote unquote elites. They're the elites of nothing. Because that essentially is going to keep people passive, and they're not going to connect in with that righteous anger, which is going to drive them to make action and change.
Absolutely.
So the whole thing that they've created is absolutely genius, really. And the way it kind of holds people that would have done something quite often. A lot of them gravitate to it because they know something's out, and they're just cowards, right? And so they think, well, I mean, if I'm in the new age movement, I'm still like awake, but I don't really have to get my hands dirty. I don't have to lose any friends. I don't have to speak any hard truths. I just, you know, I'll just meditate, and I'm still playing my part. And
exactly. I just raise the vibration by meditating, and that's it.
Yeah,
you know, it's like,
yeah, you have this, you hear this idea that oh God, there's so much BS going around.
it's Tony, I know, I get so excited. I'm just
It's so cringy, honestly. Just going back to them never allowed to get angry, right?
right.
It's really really funny to observe, especially on my YouTube channel, because I do those New Age reviews. I get a lot of their fans come over, right?
Oh,
And they won't just come out and say what they mean. Like, Tony, I hate you. Your information
it's
is
passive aggressive.
They say it in a, you know what, Tony, one day your conscious will be elevated enough to understand this information, right? So they're basically saying, I hate your guts, but they can't say it in a like angry way, because they're not allowed to get angry, right?
Yeah, it has to be enlightened. It has to come from an enlightened place.
So they're holding in all this anger within them that's kind of probably manifesting in all kinds of physical illness.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I find that really funny. And I've actually said, just tell me you hate me. You'll feel better.
It's okay. Like, you can tell me you don't like me. It doesn't matter. That's so funny. That, yeah, because I see that a lot too. It's like, I hope you heal. You know, and it's stuff like that. Yeah. It's very passive aggressive. It's like, just say it. I don't like this, or this doesn't feel right to me, or I don't like you. It's okay.
Yeah,
you know, we're not for everyone. It's okay to not be for everyone.
Yeah, that's a popular one that they use. Yeah, I hope you heal. I feel like you have some healing to do. Yeah.
And you're like, no, I think you have some healing to do. I always tell people, I'm like, when I see this happening and playing out, I'm always like, you really want to go down the spiritual path? Go have a dark night of the soul.
Oh, yeah.
That's a spiritual path. Like, spirituality and healing is not, you know, rainbows and butterflies. And we've been led to believe that it is, and it's really not. It's really painful. You know, a dark night is not fun. It's so, oh my God, like, you really get to rock bottom, and you're like, I really need to rebuild from here. I need to rise from here. How do I do that? You know, and that obviously is a motivator to take action, to rebuild and to grow and to evolve. But it's just, oh my goodness, it's so difficult. And, you know, when people, only when people go through a dark night do they actually understand how difficult healing really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's so important, especially right now where we're all getting triggered so much with what governments around the world are doing. You know, if you can really sort out your inner world, I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's you're gonna save yourself a lot of energy, and you're gonna be able to handle things a lot easier, because, as we said last week, a lot of our triggers, they're just things from our past that are being touched on again and being poked, right? Yeah. So if we can go back and resolve them, then you know, you do become a little bit more of the calm in the storm. So I recommend everyone to have a dark night of the soul.
Oh yeah, me too.
And even if you don't, you should force one upon yourself, because you know yourself, I mean, it's work that no one really wants to do. But as we spoke about last week, again, you know, these entities, they will use all your triggers and your blind spots and your unhealed wounds against you. And they will tap into those and ramp them up, turn the volume up on them. And, you know, so from that point of view, from like energetic attacks, it's really, really worthwhile to, you know, to walk that path.
For sure. Yeah. And, you know, I remember, I think it was in your book that I read this. It was how social media is such a great pool for psychic attacks to happen, because it's always, you know, you're always sharing parts of your life. People are seeing you. And, you know, if you're posting stuff that's controversial, people might not like it. And so, you know, you become a target for that. I was actually told at the beginning of this year, I was told that I had like an attack, right, in the beginning of the year. And I definitely felt it, because I was like, this doesn't feel like me, you know, because I was starting to feel like a very heavy depression and almost like suicidal ideation. And it's like, whoa, this is not me. I've lost like my vitality for life. And I am a very like passionate person about life, and everything I do, I pour all my love and passion into it. And then all of a sudden I felt like this like complete and total death. Like, I don't even want to be here anymore. I don't even care. I don't want to do anything anymore. Nothing matters. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so intense. And I was told that, yeah, it sounds like that's a psychic attack. I'm like, oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I never knew about that prior to that.
If you ever notice like a sudden shift in your energy or your thoughts, quite often that can be some kind of attachment or some kind of energetic attack that's come in. You know, I've had that a lot, and people like yourself and me and other people that probably listen to this podcast and are sort of part of this kind of unveiling of the truth right now.
Right.
We have to remember these energies, they don't want people doing that, right? And they really don't. They hate it. And we were talking off air about the interference before some of these calls that we've both had. They hate the truth coming out, and especially when you get to sort of the deeper layers, you know, they're quite happy for you to sort of talk about how corrupt politicians are. But when you start getting into, you know, healing, like proper healing and proper like exposing them at a metaphysical level, and the second layer of the matrix in terms of the new age and how these false white light beings are hooked in, they really, really hate it. So, you know, the chances are people going at that depth will experience a lot more interference, call them sort of targeted individuals, a lot more. So you really have to be aware of that. So and suicidal thoughts is a prime entity attachment signal, you know, because quite often when I've worked with people down the years, they'll be like, Tony, this voice came in my head and told me to drive my car into a wall, and it wasn't my thought, right? So yeah, they will do things like that. So yeah, really important to look out for that stuff.
Yeah, that's heavy stuff, and I think people don't see that side of it. You know, it's just they don't know why. Yeah.
Well, again, in the New Age spiritual movement, they hate talking about this stuff. You know,
oh my God, it's so taboo.
They don't want to acknowledge that there are negative entities, there are these distorted energies that are really behind this whole matrix construct, and really that is where the expression of evil really starts. You know, where these entities are working through. I mean, these entities, everyone has entity attachments, just some people more than others, but they really are influencing our world leaders, quote unquote, and pulling the strings. But the New Age movement doesn't want to look at any of that because it's too negative, quote unquote. It's too negative. You know, you're going to draw in more of that stuff, they'll tell you. And they only want to believe that there's good things out there, you know, like angels, fairies, and yada, 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 and friendly aliens, and we're all going to come and be saved by the Galactic Federation of Light. They're just wanting to land their ships at any given moment, and and so
oh my gosh, Tony.
yeah. So it's really we have to be brave enough to, like I said at the start, to look at things again. I know it's triggering for a lot of people, and also realize there's no shame in it as well, because we've all been blinded by the false white light at some point. You know, you were knee deep in it, you said. I never totally resonated with it, although I did do Reiki for a while. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
yeah, many moons ago. And so I did get hooked into certain aspects of it. But I always remember, actually, I always knew something was off. The day I realised something was off, when I first woke up, and I was living in London at the time, and I was attending a number of projects. You know, when you first wake up, you want to get involved with everything. I'm really going to change the world. I'm here. Like, I probably had a big saviour program running. And I'm Neo.
Accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Cringe. But yeah, so I was attending all these marches, and one march, I met this guy. He was like 19, and he was really awake, and he had so much passion. I was like, Jesus, this guy's going to be a force, right? He's like,
Yeah.
he's young, he's got charisma, he's like, he knows a lot. And I was like really encouraging him. I was like, dude, I wish I knew what you knew at 19. Like, you're going to go far, yada, yada.
Right.
And then we lost contact for a couple of months. And then one day we met up somewhere else, and he turned up, right, with an Eckhart Tolle book under his arm. He was like a different person. I'm not joking you. He lost all his spark. He'd lost all his coronas.
Oh my God.
Cojones. And he was like, hey man, yeah, I don't get stuck in those things anymore. It's the mind gets involved and the ego. And I'm like, who the hell is this dude? Like 3 months ago, this dude was gonna like do some really great things.
Save the world, yeah.
Now he's like a wet lettuce. And that's a prime example of how it takes out the masculinity, and it takes out the person's character.
That bothers me, like the masculinity part. That really bugs me. It's
yeah, right. But there was an advertisement the other day of it came up, Ram Dass, right? And the title of his book or whatever it was Become Nobody, right? And I thought, that's just such bullshit, right? Because what they do in that whole scene is they demonize the mind and they demonize the ego. And like the ego is something that has to be destroyed, right? Destroy your ego.
Kill the ego. The ego's not your amigo. You know, I always hear that. I'm like,
yeah. Can you imagine how boring the world would be if there was no ego, right? There would be no art, there would be no music, there would be no creativity. No one would have any desire to do anything.
Exactly.
Everyone would be the same. We would all be like that guy, like, hi man. And it would be awful, right?
Yeah.
But so they demonize the ego. Like being stuck in ego, yeah, that's bad. But having a healthy ego, especially in this messed up world that we're in, is so incredibly important. So a healthy ego we definitely need, but to destroy the ego is absolutely ridiculous. But of course, they don't want people to have an ego because they don't like individual personalities.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
They don't want people expressing their true nature. But also demonization of the mind, because a lot of these gurus that sit there cross-legged in India, like Muji and all that stuff, who've been abusing women and God knows what else, and all these gurus are saying, like, when any of their like followers question them, they'll say, "You're stuck in the mind. The mind is involved, and you just need to not listen to the mind." And it's like, well, hang on a minute. The mind, that's where our discernment is, right? So basically what they're telling you is
don't discern.
Don't discern, yeah. So, but they're so subtle. If you blink, you can miss these deceptions. They're really like, and you know, and unless sometimes they're pointed out, that you just miss them, right? So. Yeah, it was crazy, that guy. I don't know what he's doing now. I don't know if he got out of that, but it was such a shame because I saw for the first time how that scene destroyed someone's character in a matter of 3 months.
Absolutely. That's, yeah. And I think back to The Secret, when The Secret came out, and how, like, it's funny how that was like huge. Anything that's mainstream, I'm like, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah.
I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon because there's something there, you know? So as always. And I remember when The Secret came out and I was like, this is interesting. But a part of me had a feeling that I'm like, how does this even work? You just sit there, you manifest it, you know, and that's it. It's like, literally, that's what The Secret was telling you to do. And it's like, and then people were like, this doesn't work, this and that. I'm like, yeah, because you're sitting there envisioning the car that you want, the house that you want. You're not taking the action though.
even when the word action is in the word attraction, right?
Exactly. Everything's in the language, you know, and it's just like, oh my goodness. And I reflect on this now, And I mean, that was such a crazy time period because it blew up. The secret blew up, and there was a reason for it. You know, to
Yeah.
keep everyone in that deception, to keep everyone don't do anything, just visualize it, sit there, meditate on it, you know, lotus position, and that's it.
Get in the vortex, Yasmin. Get in the vortex.
We're going to 5D.
Be honest, how many times did you sit there trying to get in the vortex?
They kept telling me to get in the vortex.
I'm like, am I in there? It feels like I'm in there.
I think I am because I'm on cloud 9.
Oh, God.
So funny. It's funny because it's so true. And like, you know, once you peel back, you realize like, whoa, that's crazy. The amount of stuff that you fell for, you know, and that you were deceived by. And no shame for anyone that does fall into, like you said before. Everyone, we've all been deceived at one point or another. But it's just like, you know, once you realize that, you laugh at it, you know, because it's really humorous to know how we were deceived in different ways. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it's just another spell. It really is just another spell that, you know, once you hook into all of that stuff, energetically, as I say, it's false white light energy, which kind of puts you in that trance-like state. So this is why, as I say, a lot of people that you see, that it's like the lights are on, but hello.
Exactly, no one's there.
Person in there.
Exactly. It's so insane. I feel like there's so many parts, because I know that the moon, the rituals are another thing. That one is a big one.
Yeah, that I mean, all of this stuff triggers people. I mean, my whole channel is just one big trigger for people, really. But I've got kind of a warped sense of humor. I kind of get a lot of satisfaction about that.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, but the moon, obviously, you know, whenever we've got to get out of this idea of worshipping something. I mean, when did that even start? I mean, it just comes from having a slave mindset, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it's some kind of god or guru or just the moon,
Ideology, or anything. Yeah,
your energy and attention is very valuable. You have to be very careful where you put it. And the whole Saturn moon matrix is another one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My opinion on the moon is it's really just an amplifier which amplifies this matrix which is coming from Saturn, and it's amplifying it onto to the planet. And I mean, the moon plays with the emotions of the earth, right? The oceans and the waters, and it does the same with the females on the planet. That's why for women, it must be very challenging being a woman, because the emotions that you feel on a day-to-day basis. I saw that meme once where it had all the emojis of what a man feels in the day and what a woman feels in the day. And the woman, it had happy, crying, angry, upset, all of them. And then for the man, it just had one smiley face. I thought that was hilarious.
It's true. It's so true.
I don't think it's supposed to be like that for women. I think, you know, the moon is like an artificial satellite. And I think if you took it out, I think that the women wouldn't suffer so much in that respect. I mean, I think you're always going to be more emotional.
Right.
It's kind of part of feminine energy, but it's kind of amplified that in females as well. And I find that a lot of females have a real deep affinity with the moon, maybe because of that reason. So, you know, they get triggered way more than the men, because you know, there's kind of like they see it as the feminine, the divine feminine, which I actually see the earth as the feminine and the sun as the masculine.
Yeah.
It's another big problem. So when you're doing these moon rituals and harvest moons and full moon ritual, I mean, they call it lunar for a reason. What's lunar? Lunatic, right?
Yeah.
There's been studies done that on the full moon, murders go up, rapes go up. It's, you know, this is a thing. It's a phenomenon. but again, it's really something that people need to have the courage to have a look again. And, you know, there's never any like negative of finding like the truth in things. So, so yeah, that's another huge deception.
Yeah, that one's big. I'm happy to say I never did a moon ritual. That's one thing I was always like, I just don't, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't feel right to me, you know? So I never did that.
Did you do an ecstatic dance?
No. That story that you said last week, I was thinking about that days after. I was like, that was so good. That was so funny.
I should tell the story again for your listeners.
Yes,
right?
can you please? That's so good.
So yeah, when I lived in Koh Samui, I went over to Koh Phangan, which is like the New Age capital of Thailand. I mean, it's completely satanic. People go and see it though. Like all the there's a big yoga center there called Agama, and the head guy there was raping women and, you know, using his power to abuse. Same stuff as. And but anyway, I had to go over there to do a psychotherapy course, and I went over there, and it was a good course, but there was some like really weird aspects to it that I didn't even know why they were in the course. And then on like the second from last day, one of the organisers comes over and says to me, "Oh, we're going to be doing an ecstatic dance." And straight away, I thought, "Oh my God, I've seen what they're like." So I'm like, right, okay. And she's like, she knew that I knew, she knew my opinion on chakras, right? She knew that I didn't like chakras. She's like, "I'm just giving you the heads up that it's like a chakra ecstatic dance, right?" And she was all like timid with me. She was like, "I'm just letting you know," right?
You could tell, like, her energy was like, you know, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. So I'm like, right, okay. I was like, well, I'll probably just sort of not take part. And she's like, no, it's fine. Just sit on your mat, and we'll do it for like 20 minutes, and then it's over, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and this really horrendous noise comes on. The frequency and vibration of the sound was very dark. I don't know what it was. And these people are just standing up around me, flinging their arms around, like going, and like just, it was so demonic and satanic. Honestly, I was just sort of sitting there. It was like the Twilight Zone. I'm like, why am I here? Why? But
what is it?
As I said to you, I think I've been put in these certain situations to just see firsthand.
Yeah.
How much bullshit there is. Same with the chakras. It's like, I would never have gone down that path if I hadn't have had all these psychic attacks and stuff. So I think like everyone's life, once you're in you're vibing with your purpose and your mission, it's like, you know, things just fall on your lap. And I just seem to get a lot of garbage, right? It's like, here, Tony, there's some more garbage to unpack for the world, right? So that's why I call myself a human road sweeper.
You're like, full circle. This is why I call myself that.
That's what healers really are. I actually prefer that term than the word healer. I mean, healer's another word that's so.
I agree.
I'll call myself a shit shifter or something.
I agree. Yeah. And you know, we're not, I came to that realization and that acceptance of like, I'm not here to be liked, you know, nor do I care. Nor do I care anymore of like, who likes me, who doesn't like me. I'm speaking the truth. I'm speaking what feels right to me, and I'm sharing what feels right to me. And those who do feel like they resonate will be attracted to me or will like me, will want to be with me. And those who don't just will fall away, and that's okay. Yeah. You know, but I think that's really the definition of a true healer, is someone who is okay with being disliked, someone who's okay with being polarizing, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Someone who's okay with the passive aggressive comments.
Yeah. I hope you heal.
I hope you too.
That one.
Yasmin.
That one is so good. Oh my God, Tony.
What happened to you?
You've changed. So funny, so funny. Wow, I feel like we can honestly talk about this all day because this
I
is
know,
just
right?
the unpacking of this is there's just so much more, and I'll definitely have you come back on and we could
Yes,
dive deeper into like the Saturn moon matrix and all that stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, like where can my audience find you, connect with you if they wanna chat with you?
Well, my YouTube channel, Tony Sayers, that's where I've got all the expose videos of
Yes,
a lot of new
all the
age.
juicy content.
Yeah, but I've got my website, transcendingtimes.org, that has my sessions and my books linked to it. And Instagram, although I'm shadow banned right now, shocker, I
I know
know.
I tried to tag you last week and it's like, no,
Yeah,
sorry. It's
yeah.
posting too much truth.
Yeah, my Instagram's tone@TONE_Sayers.
Okay,
But
cool.
YouTube's probably the best one to check out my work while I'm still on there anyway.
Yes, yes. And also the books for my audience listening. I found Tony because I read his book, The New Age is a New Cage, and it blew me away. I was like, what? This is amazing. Like, this is so great. What a book. It was just so straight to the point, very like knowledgeable, so much wisdom in that book. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to read the other ones too, because I know you have a few more. But yeah, if anyone wants to read that, start there. If you want to like unveil and peel back more and more layers of the New Age deception. So Tony, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time and your light and your wisdom. I hope you heal as well.
Oh, that's great.
Had to throw that one in there. And I really appreciate being able to do this together.
I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me on, and thanks
Yep.
to your audience for listening to me.
Of course, yes. We'll have you back on soon. Bye, Tony.
Bye bye.